session, wonderful session. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for the session until 6 p.m. today, IST. Just one note is YouTube link. Please make sure that everybody have YouTube link in case if there is any disconnect in the LinkedIn. You can always use YouTube link as a backup. Okay. So, but maybe after 2 o'clock, you will have an issue with the LinkedIn live telecast. So, you just the most reliable is the YouTube link. Please do that. And if there is any questions, please make sure that you ask it, and we make sure that they get answered from the speakers. So thank you very much for staying, in the session. All participants, I would like to welcome Ajay Nair. Nice to see you, Ajay. Nice to see you. So thank you very much for joining the session today. Ajay Nair, he will give a lecture on India against bots. Okay, so he is like a financial transformation expert who helps rapidly growing businesses to regain control by strengthening cash management, compliance, liquidity, forex strategy, budgeting, reporting, and valuation to enable sustainable, well-governed growth. So, Ajay ji, just introduce yourself very quickly, and also maybe you can talk about the topic. It's very interesting, and then look forward. I personally waiting to see your presentation. Ajay ji, yeah.
Thank you, Abdulji. Thank you for having me. Namaskar to you. Namaskar to all the participants. Sometime back, Abdulji and his team got in touch with me and said that, why don't you do a session on financial management? And I said, okay, let's do a session on financial management, but from a slightly unconventional point of view. Why unconventional? Because I think this is a very, very important aspect of our financial ecosystem. And unfortunately, we do not focus enough. So therefore, I thought that this is perhaps a good platform to bring across uh, something that we perhaps are ignoring it or choosing to ignore. So I'm going to spend the next half an hour or so talking about something that we have seen in our daily lives, but parents don't give so much importance to it. So my urge over the session, and I hope towards the end of the session that we will become a little more conscious of it and perhaps start acting. So Abdulji, thank you for the platform.
Forward, Ajay ji. Yeah, you can share the screen if you have
Sure.
presentation. Let me go offline. Yeah.
Is this clear, Abdulji?
Yep, it is visible. So you can, yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And we can hear you
So
also.
India needs bots. So first of all, what is bots? To understand what is bots, one needs to look at if you go to your bank account on the net banking platform, just before accessing your account, you will have a little window that says that are you a human being? If yes, type this little thing or identify this animal or identify the cycle. They'll give you an image which you need to apply for. So when you think back and you say, okay, why are you doing this? Basically, you're doing this to find for the system to find out that you are a human being. Now, is that all? Eh, On an operational basis, no, but on a practical basis, yes. Right? They are trying to identify that you are not a bot. Okay, so I'm going to be spending the next half an hour or so talking about bots, its implications to the economy, uh, how it can be controlled, and where India can play a big role. So that's essentially the four parts that we were going to be talking about. Uh, Abdulji has already mentioned that this is what I do. I'm a chartered accountant by profession, and I work on new age companies with capital efficiencies and digital, and particularly in the digital world. So let's go straight into the topic, right? So the next half an hour, we're going to look at India's digital landscape. We're going to look at the bot challenge, the economic impact, why our traditional controls will not work, right? What's the new approach? What's How can India position itself in the new approach, and how would you go about implementing? Just to give you how big the implications of this, and that's one of the reasons why I believe the financial community needs to start looking at it, is India is the world's largest digital infrastructure system. I mean, we've got more internet users than many countries. We've got more mobile connections than many countries, right? And this scale is only growing. Now, every time you have a new system, you have people around it trying to beat the system. That's not new. That's been there ever since humankind came into being, and that is not going to change in the future as well. We have 504 million UPI users in India. Now that's the population of many countries, right? Of many countries put together. We are growing 46% year on year on digital payments. You may thank COVID for it, but nevertheless, we are growing at an astronomical rate as compared to the rest of it. Digital economy is growing about 2.5 times more faster than the overall economy, right? 8% of your retail market share is now under e-commerce, right? 14% of your I mean, and this will grow to 14% over the next 4 years, right? About 62 million odd jobs are being created by the digital economy. So this is not a small thing. This is a large aspect of our economy that's sitting out here, which is prone to exploitation. So automation typically is a need that we must go to make things faster, as Dr. Mohan also pointed out, right? But however, when we automate, we assume that everything is working right. We have a trust, right? Now, this trust is no longer implicit. It must be designed, right? So, bots to me is not a technology problem. It is a leadership and a system design problem. And I'll explain to you how. So, let's understand what does a bot do? A bot is like if I may put it in simple words, a bot is like a relative who comes home, right? Who overstays his welcome, eats all your snacks, and does not pay for it, right? So he or she, it consumes a lot of your resources, but does nothing to you. Now that's a bot, right? So it clicks, it registers, it applies, it transacts, it consumes, and it shapes your future algorithms, right? So they're hackers, they're economic actors. That's a little different from hacking, right? So much like I said, it pretends to be a human user. It does all those attributes like a human being does on a digital platform, on a digital landscape, right? But unlike human beings, where we can do one transaction at a time, bots can do thousands of them at the same time, right? So, like I said, bots follow a simple script, and that script it does better than many other things uh, in the world, right? Now, human users, we are restricted by attention. We can do one thing at a time. We like to take breaks. We like to sleep in the night and wake up in the day. Bots don't do anything. It can operate 24/7. It can operate the same script again and again, right? And it can do this infinitely. So unlike human beings, bots are something that are far more energetic than we are. Now you will say, okay, how different is this from the virus? A virus damages your system, right? A bot only exploits your system. So that's the difference. A virus is only there to damage your system. A bot is there to use your incentives, use your resources, use your bandwidth, use your server capability, and take and use it for purposes that it incurs. That's a little key difference between a virus and a bot. I mean, this is factual data here, right? 37% of all internet traffic is coming from bots. So if somebody tells you, or if you have a financial influencer, you have influencers telling you, I want 100 million subscribers, you can be rest assured a third of that is not human beings, right? $540 billion is the bot economy in India. I mean, we don't realize how big this is, this last thing which is yet hidden underneath the entire landscape. If a third of our internet traffic is bots, so you can imagine a third of your internet spend is also going towards bots, right? And 48% of bot traffic users use very advanced techniques. These are not techniques that are normally identified easily by your bank account capture, right? So this is not, these are not isolated incidents. This is a systematic, organized challenge to challenge your digital systems, right? If you just imagine, if you have a lot of money, you're bound to have thieves around your house. And that's exactly what's happening out here. Because India is a large digital infrastructure, you are bound to have people who are trying to exploit that infrastructure. Now, like I said, e-commerce is one of the largest bot hit ecosystems, right? Uh, E-commerce, as you know, in India offers a lot of discounts to start you, to invite you to the website and offers you. So what consumes more less than half of your e-com discounts, right? Obviously, because it's not a human being, there is no conversion, right? So it is a lot of money that you actually pay to get what we call invalid traffic. 31% of your loan applications are actually bot driven. Uh, Dr. Mohan spoke about design thinking and why certain implications should come to everybody else. This is precisely the reason that's been exploited, right? 21% of your fraudulent transactions come through bots. So we don't realize that this is a fraud that's sitting within ourselves, and we are probably circumventing. Uh, in the gaming industry, one of the largest, and the entertainment industry, one of the largest growing industry in this ecosystem, 40% of your server capabilities are occupied by bots, right? And server cost is basically the largest cost in an ecosystem, in a digital ecosystem. So these impacts across the digital ecosystem. This does not individual companies. This does not impact individual companies, but this impacts the entire industry as a whole. Okay. So there are more digital transactions in India than the stars that you can see from your skies. That's the volume of the digital industry right now. So what do they do? They abuse your onboarding process because it's not a human being. You believe that as a human being is being onboarded. That's probably not true because most companies will realize that it's actually bots that are using your registration flows. They create false identities. They drain out your promotional budgets. So if you say come to my website and take a 50 rupee voucher, it's bots that are taking it. It's not a human being that's taking it. Okay, and they manipulate the reward systems. Okay, they create artificial engagement. Okay, and inflate, and so therefore any metrics that you're seeing, from Google AdWords or Google Analytics, you can be assured that those are inflated, right? So this is not a distortion. Okay, this is a distortion. This is not just a fraud. A fraud is a small thing you can control it. This is a distortion across the industry, right? That's how serious it is. And I've got some factual data to show it to you, right? So let us see. Gaming industry is where 65% of your are inflated user metrics. E-com platforms, essentially close to half of your discounts are taken by bots. Right? And in financial services, Almost a third of your applications are bot filled, right? So you can imagine the amount of contamination a marketing manager or a CEO is looking at, where a third of it is not even a part of his business, but for which he's paying for it, right? So it's like what are those people who come to a supermarket? They come and try all the free samples and then don't buy a thing. So you can compare a bot to a guy who walks into the supermarket, samples of the free thing and doesn't buy a thing and goes away, right? So that's how you compare a bot to in the digital space. Okay. So let's look at performance marketing because that's where really the spends are happening, right? So when I say performance marketing, let's look at an example. I don't mean to specifically talk about any company, but let's say Flipkart is paying a digital marketing or a performance marketing agency a crore to get, let's say, 10 lakh people, human beings into the site. So essentially what it's saying is, you get me a human being, I will pay you 10 rupees, right? Now let's say 10 lakh people come in, but a third of them are bots. Now what's happening? Flipkart has just paid 30 lakh rupees down the drain for which it's not going to get any conversion, right? And once you will use that data for your future planning, right? So not only is it contaminating your current state of affairs, it's also affecting your algorithms to learn from, right? So it is not only contaminating at the level, at one level, it is contaminating as we go along. The more we continue, the more it contaminates, right? So resources get redirected. So what happens is you tend to plan your resource and your digital campaign based on 5 or 6 platforms. Your budgets tend to get allocated to places where bots are also high because you believe that's where you're getting the highest amount of traffic, so to say, but not necessarily conversion, right? So capital follows distortion. And that is the irony, and that's where I believe that's where I believe the financial community needs to take step in because it's taking your capital tends to flow with the distortion, right? So that's a dangerous sign. Obviously, they are not human beings, so there's no way it's going to do any conversion for you, right? Uh, you'll have a falling return on investment. Just like I gave you an example, you're spending a crore, 30 of lakh rupees is spent on bots. So your ROI is already lower by that extent. Right? And it's got a very poor conversion rate, obviously, because they're not customers at all. There's an electronic pulse that's coming to your website, and you believe that's traffic. It's not, right? So think of it like a leaking tap in your bathroom. Drop by drop, right? Uh, it's not going to empty you in one night, but your water bill will make sure that your bill in the water will make sure that's quite high, right? So obviously, IRR, right? As finance people, we tend to look at everything from a measurement from an IRR perspective. Your IRR is completely wrong, right? 28% of your IRR is contaminated due to almost 30% of your bots coming in, right? So a third of your spends will not give you an IRR. And this is not just hearsay, and I'll show you with factual data. Okay. So it sends you false positives. You look like your marketing manager is doing very well because he's getting the traffic into your website. But those are all false promises, right? Uh, but it contaminates your algorithm in the future, right? Because you believe that this is the right channel and the right amount of system, the traffic coming into your that planning is taken in the future, right? And obviously, your salespeople are chasing bad leads. Your service is based on fake demand. You are putting up people on fake demand, and also your methods for improving customer acquisition is also wrong because those methods and those expenditures are going towards something that is not even human being. Okay. Now, when I say clear trust, I've got some clear trust data. This is factual data that I'm putting out. Uh, there is a 28% reduction in IRR on an average, and in some cases up to 45%, which means For every 1 rupee you spend, 50 paise is going towards fraud, 50 paise is what value, right? Now, why does it affect India so much? Because of our size, right? We decided to make digital infrastructure big and fast, right? Which is not to slow down the system, but we have to start behaving, understanding that where are we spending our money, right? So bots don't waste money; they corrupt your tomorrow's decision making, and that is to me is worse than what it is doing today. So where do the bots come from? So I am not too sure whether you are aware, but in places like Vietnam, China, Indonesia, you have something called click farms, where thousands of mobiles are connected. You must have seen this, Abdulji. Thousands of mobiles are connected to a single server, and on a single click of a button, you will have hits on the various websites that you pay. So these are called click farms, right? These are almost a third of our bots come from these click farms, right? I'm just naming a few countries. This could be there anywhere in the world, right? They can come from infected devices. So if I have a mobile phone that's infected with a bot, the signal my mobile phone goes to other websites will also be a bot only, right? Then there's the incentive exploiters. People will say, come to my website and take a 50 rupees voucher promotional offer. Those are being exploited by bots, right? Those are not human beings where money is going. At worst, market manipulation, right? Today we've got a lot of private equity investments. We've got a lot of investments going basis that this is the amount of traffic in my website. A third of it is false. So that's a market manipulation. So let me give you some data. Over the last 3 years, we have 130 million verified bot with their IP addresses. Can you imagine 130 million bot IP addresses which hit typically any marketing campaign, right? So we've got that data with us. 65% of this come from tier 2 and tier 3 cities, right? So how large is this economy? 540 billion rupees. That is how large this fraud ecosystem operates out of bots. Now, why can we apply a traditional control systems and catch it, right? Capture, as we started this presentation by saying capture excludes genuine users. Now, the way we the way we have designed India is that we do not want to create hurdles every time we have a person who's coming into the digital economy, right? So therefore, we want to create a hurdle-free method of to doing it. Now, high friction also creates inclusion, right? So digital initiatives prioritize accessibility over security because we want to somebody said earlier that we want to reach out to people who are not banked. We want to reach out people in the rural areas. We want to reach out people in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. That's our objective. So it is against our principle to put a filter or capture to understand to filter them. So that's one of the traditional systems that does not work in India because our objective is to reach out to our population far faster than others. Okay. Also, when you block too many things, I mean, you must have seen that if your website is asking you too many questions that you find irritating, you tend to go away, right? So over blocking also damages trust, right? So that is our ecosystem. So one of the reasons why we feel that India cannot do a copy paste of the Western countries, we have to have our own solution, right? 40% new users abandon sign-ups due to capture. Because like I just told you, we don't like irritants in the way. Right? And that creates a huge amount of loss. Right? Almost 10 million of legitimate normal human beings walk out because of these filtering systems. And these are the realities of today. Right? So the traditional method of blocking a bot is like you're trying to break a nut with a sledgehammer, not with a small hammer, with a sledgehammer, right? You may break the nut, but you will end up damaging the picture. So let me just give you simple parallel examples that you and me can relate to. Uh, so identity and intent are two different things. Uh, Traditional systems are very focused on trying to identify who you are, whereas in the new ecosystem, you should be finding out what you intend to do, right? Uh, Static-based systems do not lacks the understanding of behavioral pattern. So because we don't know what they intend to do, we don't understand the behavioral pattern. Okay. And friction barriers, like I said, people have too many things, asking too many questions, go to capture, write this so many times, type this again. We don't like it. We tend to move away because it reduces the user experience. Right? Uh, so India needs what's called a context-aware system, right, to understand behavioral pattern rather than relying on static ones, right? So So, like I said, from is it to how is it behaving is the shift in the leadership. It's the shift in the thinking. Is this allowed? So, from is this allowed to does this intent align with what we are thinking? So, like I said, from an identity-based verification, we need to get into a behavior-based assessment, right? So, just an Aadhaar is identity-based verification. Whereas what India needs is that Aadhaar a human being or is it a bot where by behavior you could find out whether that particular item is welcome or not welcome. And most importantly, it does something that's in the back of the mind or very much more important. It reduces your trust. And that is exactly what we need to move from reactive security to proactive trust building. It requires a new leadership thinking for the new age problem that we are talking about. So so look at it this way. It's like if you go to a nightclub in Hyderabad, Abdulji, you have a couple of bouncers standing outside, right?
Yep.
Now, if a bouncer is just looking at your ID, just looking at your face and letting you in, right? You may get a lot of people that's walking in the door, but the troublemakers will not be stopped, right?
Correct.
So what you need is a system where the regulars are getting into the club and the troublemakers are stopped in the door. In a very simple example,
Yeah. So you mean to
right?
say that these bots most likely stop the genuine
It does. It
people.
does. I mean, I'll just give you an example. If, for instance, the way to catch a bot today is to identify captcha is one such thing, right? If you notice, whenever you go to net banking, it asks you for a captcha before you actually get into your account, right? Now that is not a likable thing because that creates trust deficit, right? So what it does is it drives away. This in a bank account we have no choice but to go in. But let's say if you are asked to put up a capture in Flipkart, would you go or would you stay there, right? For instance, if you go to Flipkart or Amazon, and every time you go to a new page, it asks you for a capture. The chances are that you will go away from that site. So that's what I'm trying to say. Bots create an ecosystem where genuine users move away. So this new challenge requires a new leadership, right? A leadership that does not looks at problems affecting the performance rather than the performance itself. So if our leadership today is looking at performance, non-performance, but does not look at the reason why that's not happening. So it requires a continuous, conceptual, invisible to users and decisive action against abuse. Right? So it's a bit like that story, the example I gave you of a bouncer standing in front of a club. Right? It needs a system where regulars are let in and the nuisance makers are chased out from the door. Now that's the leadership approach that needs to take. Today's leadership approach is like, let's get more people in and hopefully they will convert. So that requires a complete shift in the way you understand things. So what should be done? I mean, so let's look at solution here, right? Uh, First of all, India needs, I believe, and this is when I say India against bots. The topic was India against bots. Is that we have decided that this is an area that we will be fighting on head on. Obviously, we can't do this just by myself or a few other people. So what we are looking to do is we are looking to create 1,000 media quality auditors in India over the next 1 year. They will be trained on identifying bots. They will be trained how to stop bots, and they will be trained how to permanently eliminate the bots from their system. So we do this by a training program. We are doing this by a certification and by an institutional framework. Okay, and obviously it requires CFO grade scrutiny of your digital spends. So when a CFO is looking at his digital spends, he needs to now start looking at it not just what is the conversion, but how much of traffic came in, how much of the traffic was fraudulent, where your digital spends are going in. Okay. This can be done with a couple of things. You can do so our media auditors will do a one-time media quality audit with your website, right? And once you have a one-time media audit, this gives you an actionable point as to where your problems lie. Now, your bots come from various different sources. Some sources may have less bots, some sources may have large bots. So you have to start the media audit, which our 1,000 media auditors will do, will start creating, identify signal distortion, a CFO readable baseline, and obviously actionable insights. Yeah. Like I said, we have 130 million IP addresses which are confirmed bot. So what I would urge marketing people is to go, let's say they're doing a campaign. No, there are two types of campaigns that we do. Companies like Amazon, Flipkart, Meesho, they do campaigns across the year. Now, there are many companies or many brands that do a campaign only for Diwali. They do a campaign only for Christmas. They do a campaign for Eid. They do a campaign for Independence Day. Now, what you could do is the alternatively is that take our entire bot database and put that in your campaign so that at least these 130 million bots will not come into your campaign. You may get new ones, but you will be rest assured that you won't get this 130 million. So you can do an immediate exclusion from your system. So obviously you stop obvious waste and it's quite quickly deployed. What that results in? It results in a lower CAC, customer acquisition cost, a higher ROI invariably, right? And a faster conversion. Today, with a bot selling, we are converting, let's say, 5%, which actually is about 8% or 9%. But we are converting at 5% because we got bot traffic will never buy the thing, right? And because of that, we take conversion mitigation steps and spend more money on it, right? Which is obviously a whole lot of waste. So the new digital economy requires to identify bots as a problem and start taking mitigating steps towards it. Clear Trust is not. This is not an advertisement for Clear Trust, but that can identify and stop a bot. In India, that Clear Trust is a completely 100% made in Bharat product. So Clear Trust is a trust layer that we want to put in as part of our fight against bots. C360 CFO Services is proud to be an India distributor and a governance partner with local expertise on this.
Hello. Uh, Ajay ji, Kevin, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So the voice is little break.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay. Okay.
Sir, he left from the
Okay.
studio.
He will join, I think. He
Yeah,
will
okay,
join.
sir.
Just a minute. So let's wait for maybe there is a disconnect.